we will be discussing whether or not you got the BIM that you had paid for. So the agenda for today, we're going to ask the harsh question. Why did your BIM fail? We are going to have a look at what motivates BIM teams, some simple steps to BIM right, and is your BIM fully baked? So the first part, why did your BIM fail? Ever felt like this when beginning a BIM project? Got off on the wrong foot? You want to get started quickly, and there are so many challenges. Everyone has different capabilities, and sometimes it just feels like this. So what are the reasons for these failures? Sometimes we don't have the right team. Expectations not aligned, bad communication before and during the project, deliverables not what we had expected, no quality checks, and then did not verify deliverables. So deliverables are not used, and wow, quite a few there. So why is it difficult to align those expectations? Well, the first thing is we see a lot of bad communication. Here, firstly, is a poorly defined scope, just a one-liner, where we see just a request for some LOD and maybe Kobe data. The second one is where we have the milestones, and the LOD is progressed through these milestones. So milestone 1 is 100, and then milestone 2, LOD 200 is expected, etc. And it just doesn't work like that on a project, and it should not be implemented. This is bad communication and should not be requested in this way. There are so many variables that we need to consider, and a lot of standards out there are trying to fit all these the level of geometry, the level of information, what elements to consider into only a few categories. You know, there's too many to simply categorize into just like a number or a category. And if you do get that all defined, people are so eager to start that they're just like ready, set, go. You know, but unfortunately, without proper planning and without the proper or properly sequencing those events, you will end up with a bottleneck. Like you may have a lot of deliverables that need review, or a lot of issues at once that you will need to resolve at the same time, and that gets very tricky. And without proper quality assurance processes aligned, and we don't have the correct tools to support it, we could be wasting a lot of time going through element by element, making sure they meet the initial requirements that we had agreed on. So this has two sides. It's not only the people creating the models, it's the people requesting models too. Are they both competent in their respective roles? So it's very important to know the competency level of your company. Do you just know about BIM, or do you do BIM? Or are you an expert in BIM? Knowing where your company fits will assist you to not overcommit to something that might put the company in a potential risk. There are some great competency frameworks out there, and there are some great foundations to build from on your own. So we have competency questionnaires that people send out, where you can also have a mission statement, which is great. So whether it incorporates BIM and whether it incorporates lean, this is where you can get a real understanding of what the company is about to achieve. Now let's look at what motivates teams for doing BIM. So each team has a different motivation for BIM. For owners, as an owner, I might have read about BIM online. I might want to use it in my design reviews or to communicate with the public about what's going on. I might want to sell a property and market that through VR to someone in another country, or I might want to sell an apartment. I want to save cost in construction, or even to maybe to optimize facilities operations. Alrighty, so then there's the architects. They want to win more business. Sometimes it's just because someone asked for BIM. They're going to do it for space planning, for design reviews using AR, VR between them and the client, design coordination, workflow efficiencies for construction documents. Like if there are apartment models that you can copy over, or you want to reuse that project, like modeling a plan and splitting it with a section is much quicker than having to draw that section in 2D all over again. So the contractor might want to win more business. Someone like the owner asked for BIM. It might be for coordination to reduce risk in the construction process, for quantities and estimates, 4D simulations, safety and phase planning. These are reasons why the contractor might be motivated to do BIM on a project. As for the engineers, Again, to win more business, or someone had asked. They too are part of the design coordination, but also for internal system analysis and for bill of materials, or they have a fabrication team on site and to track change orders. And then we have these service providers. Someone asked for BIM and needs support on it. Well, the service providers are there to fill in the gaps within the scope. And maybe there's a need to accelerate the team's capabilities. And the aim for these service providers is to improve our industry more rapidly. So there's a lot of reasons around all of those. But in summary, it's when someone asks you to do BIM or to win business. And what gets us excited is when someone does BIM on a project to gain specific efficiencies in their workflow. Like for the architects, it's cutting sections into drawings more quickly, or to do something in 2D, but because you're using BIM, it updates in 3D, so everything else updates. For the contractors, it's for getting quantities or for estimating. All of those are key motivations. Now, let's talk about the simple steps to take in order to get the right BIM. Of course, we need to define the why. Why are we doing BIM in the first place? What is the purpose? This will help us set up those major milestones in the project, which we can then define with scope. Which is the what? Which is the list of items. And then how much is required. So you want to provide the correct LOD or the right level of geometry and information. So if something is needed in 2D, deliver it in 2D. If it ever needs to be in 3D and is asked for in 3D, then only should 3D be provided. So focus on when you need those elements and when they need to be, or when they need to progress in more detail. Clearly define your geometry, documentation, and information requirements, and understanding who is responsible for what information, especially at handover. So here we have stairs that are required only in 2D for a structural estimate by the architect. And then later on, the structural engineer was involved at a different milestone for an MEP coordination that was required in 3D. Always remember to keep it simple. And then have an optimum delivery sequence. We've seen, as we saw in the previous webinar, where we had a case study where there was a 53% decrease in issues based on being able to sequence the tasks for each of those information delivery milestones in an order that makes sense to the team so that there's less rework. For example, a fire engineer won't have to model everything up front, or else he or she will have to move everything again later. He or she will have to wait for ducting to come in, and then the gravity plumbing, and then we'll go ahead and model at that stage, so as to avoid remodeling and rework, because fire elements, as we know, can route around other things. So we discussed why some BIM projects fail. We talked about what motivates BIM teams, and we showed some steps to get BIM right. And so we have the recipe, but is your BIM fully baked? So there you have it. You don't want half-baked stuff. That'll taste quite nasty. Imagine having a beautiful, fully baked BIM. How do you know when BIM is ready, when it's fully baked? So we are given deadlines. And whether it is ready or not, it has to be delivered on that deadline. And we get a start date and an end date. And on the end date, there is a whole lot of things that we need that need to be reviewed or need to be done. Imagine having to solve 100 clashes in one day. But if we had bite-sized processes for our deadlines, solving those 100 clashes in, say, a month's time doesn't feel that bad. For example, you know what, let's get together, let's get first floor coordinated, and then move on to second floor. And once that is done, and the next, and so forth. So sequencing, when you can deliver on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, is a lot more efficient. And so using the Kanban board, as you can see, people can just drag and drop something from in progress to ready for review to show when they have completed it. It doesn't have to be the whole model. It may be just a set of elements that are ready for your review, and you will be notified about that too. Pretty awesome. So how to check? Well, it would be great to have the BIM execution plan and the BIM requirements, the BIM scope, and the BIM deliverables all in the same platform. And imagine that it was all connected to the model. That would be powerful. So imagine being able to explode the building, sort elements into these groups, which you can review. As if walking into a store and you walk through the aisle and, lighting fixtures are to the left and all grouped together, and in this case, stairs on the other side, and then review the items without having to search for them separately within the model. What to check? So if you had a set of information requirements, for example, going through the process to check whether geometry and information requirements are present and verify it before delivering the model to someone else. How do you then check the progress and BIM compliance? Usually it's just a checklist that you go through, and then you can see whether you are 50% complete, for example. But imagine if you can connect to your BIM tasks and BIM requirements and visually see the model and filter and hide what's been verified and completed every time you check off a task in the model. And at the same time, being able to see the model metrics and status instantly, imagine. And then how about making sure that when you have the model and that checklist is finished, that is the only time that you then share and publish that model. And the relevant people or teams will all get notified when things are verified and published or fully baked. So with regard to BIM compliance, it's really important to consolidate those requirements, making sure we have reviewed all our models against the checklists before we share and publish them. Always review before you share and publish. So in conclusion, in order to get the BIM you paid for, you have to understand each team's motivation for doing BIM and why you are doing BIM. Seek competent teams that will be able to deliver what you would expect, clearly define information, delivery milestones, sequence, track, and manage the progress, have connected requirements and deliverables. Be able to visually review and verify, and publish only when fully baked. So here are some resources to help your BIM team grow. Follow this link to get more information on Plannerly. The link is in the chat. Thank you for Akos. Book your masterclass accreditation sessions with us now. Join us for our next episode, which is episode 6, Agile BIM Standards.